Hello, my friends, uh, and welcome to another episode. I want to do this episode in English. I could do it in multiple other languages, but let's just stick to English because it's not. It is a. It's basically a subject that um, I don't know. I can describe it better in English. So, um, a friend of mine asked me. He actually called me and he told me that he was subjected to an act of racism. So I told him, "What kind of an act?" He said, "A racist remark. Somebody was racist to him. Somebody was racist to me," he said. So I told him, "Who was that?" He said, "It's his girlfriend." He said, "Of all people?" Okay. So of course this is a sad story for the man, and this is a sad story in general. The other thing he said is that he said this woman, or this person, his girlfriend, he said she uh, she is, a snob. She thinks she's better than him, and she thinks that he is nothing, or he is lesser than her in God knows what ways. Anyways, uh, so I thought about it, and I called him back, and I told him this. And I thought about it for some time. That's why. So I said, and I thought to myself back then, you know, a racist cannot be a racist without a victim. So every racist and every bully needs a victim to compare himself with. So, for example, um, let's take let's just compare the situation. Let's use the situation as an example. So this man was sitting in front of his girlfriend. His girlfriend started telling him he's nothing, he's dumb, and then he's from this place and she's from that place, and he has this color and she has a different color. So she thinks it's a better color than his. And anyways, so kids stories, kids topic. Um, the interesting thing here is that it's not only kids that have these and share such kinds of topics, but rather adults, sadly. So the story here is that racism cannot occur without a bully, without a perpetrator, and a victim. So as this woman, or as this girl was making such remarks, she was basically comparing her own characteristics with his characteristics. By that comparison, I mean she was referring to his characteristics as of a lower quality, and her characteristics of a higher quality, of course, a better quality than his. The story here is that, and the sad story here is that it happens every day, but can we do something about it? Question is yes. Not all the time, and not everyone can do something about it, of course. But in my own experiences, I've had a fair share of experiences, but let's just stick to this experience my friend had. So the story here is that she basically started making this comparison, and he was on the other end to receive, you know, the messages, the subliminal, subconscious messages she was um, uh, referring to and convincing and, you know, persuading this poor man. So the story here is that as he left the conversation, he started feeling exactly and started thinking exactly the same, you know, way she intended to make him feel. So she told him that could happen that could happen at a subconscious level. She doesn't have to speak anything to make him. He just needs to feel bad about his own self in order for another bully or perpetrator or racist to you know, show his you know, to allow such a person to sh- to to do a great performance and to show up at his best uh, by just pinpointing these kinds of defects, personality defects, thinking these defects in the victim. So I'm not saying that a victim should be laughed at or a victim should be sympathized with, but and or the bully should be laughed at and should be sympathized with. So both of these, um, I am not saying anything about any of these parties. The only thing I am referring to is that if I think that my car is bad and someone else shows up with a, you know, the same car but a different color, same characteristics, same everything, same mechanism, same speed, the same car, just copy the car, just put another color on it, you know, just like this Pimp My Ride exhibit does. You know, they just, you know, color it with a different color, that same car, you know, and someone else shows up with it and I'm sitting down there, my car is at home, I don't know. And so this man has showed up with my own car, didn't do anything else except the color. And he tells me, look at my car, way better than yours. Or just he just needs to stand in front of it. So if I'm already thinking that my car is bad and defective in so many ways, I think that I don't need, or it doesn't take a better car, or it doesn't take a bully to show me that I am defective. So, or it doesn't take him to show me that I am feeling bad. Because if I'm feeling bad, that's it. That's the end of the story. So, what's the solution against a racist? If a racist comes, or a snob, or a know-it-all shows up, he needs a comparison object. He needs somebody. He needs some subject. He needs some person to compare himself with. The only story is that if he stumbles upon a person that already feels good and not defective in any way, which is very hard to do, and to think these kinds of thoughts, because our thoughts and ideas have to be regulated in such a manner that and adapted in such a manner that we are sure that they're true. So if we're sure that our ideas are true and our self-esteem is already in a good place in our heart, and we already feel good about ourselves, so nobody can, you know, can make us feel otherwise, unless our thoughts about ourselves isn't that, you know, or aren't that good in the first place, or are shaky in the first place. So all what I'm saying is that once a bully Once a snob, once a guy or a girl or a person uh, is racist towards you, or is making you feel lesser of what you are, I need you to understand that uh, this is the moment where you need to really write down how you feel and how you felt as he talked to you or as she talked to you. Because if you write it down and listen to yourself, listen to your thoughts, listen to what they're telling you about your own self, you will discover that certain thoughts, your thoughts about certain aspects about you, about your own personality, aren't protected. So, in order for you to notice that chink in your armor, that hole in that cup, in order for you to notice that, just watch and pay attention and listen to the stream of thoughts, to the leak of these thoughts from the moment you have had and from the conversation you've had with this person, because your thoughts are going to tell you, and they're going to be very clear. They're going to be just a confirmation about your ideas about your own self. So, all what I'm saying is that you cannot feel confident about a certain idea and happy about that idea and protect it 100% and feel worthless at the same time. So you can't feel worthy and worthless at the same time about a certain topic. What I'm saying is that as your thoughts are trying to tell you that you are not enough, or you are not up to par, or up to a certain level that person holds you for, then you should understand that you give the other person a full permission, and you give him or her the key to make you feel bad or feel good, and that this permission is 100% in your hands. So, no matter what he does or she does, no one can make you feel inferior if you do not allow him to do so. I think Thomas Jefferson said this, but he definitely had a lot of truth in that kind of in this philosophical idea. So it is very important to know that once we notice that other people or other circumstances, not only people, are trying to throw us off balance, catch us off guard, it's our responsibility to listen and pay real attention, not to how we can respond and act upon what this person just did and said, and just attack him. This is not going to bring you anything. You can attack, you can do what you want, but that's not going to bring you anything. What's going to bring you something for future for your future reservoir of wisdom would be to know and notice that kind of leak, in that kind of puncture in that wheel in that you know, bicycle tire. You notice that once you put it underwater, you'll notice that, you know, that kind of air coming out. Then you will know that this is right here. If you got too many holes, then you need to make sure that you really, you know, put patches all over the place, or simply replace this kind of an idea, you know, as a whole. What I mean by that is that to replace a certain mental attitude or about a certain subject. So you will notice and you will encounter bullies everywhere. As a matter of fact, you do encounter bullies at 8 o'clock every morning. What do I mean by that? I mean, every morning you wake up, you are being basically prosecuted, and you are being harassed, and you are being judged, and you are being told things you don't like, and you are basically being prosecuted by your own thoughts. So at 8, I don't know when you wake up. You probably wake up at 8, 6, I don't know. So these thoughts are coming. And if you want to refer to these thoughts as I don't know, if you give these and each of these thoughts a name, because they do have a name. You know, if you don't have a lot of money, then you know, some of the bank owners you're thinking about them, I need to pay him, for example. So that he has a name. So this guy's going to come to you once you wake up. Not in his physical body, but the demand of that realistic scenario, that reality will come to you and knock on your door once you wake up. So I need you to make sure that you don't take things seriously, but decide to make a game out of it, and not to see it as something really personal. It's just you know, it's just a game of life. Well, a lot of people will say, "What game are you talking about?" Well, there is a game, and not everyone knows that he's a part of that game. But everyone is playing, and the game has scores, and that score is measured in self-esteem and self-worth in your own thinking. A lot of psychologists talked about it, and a lot of presidents talked about it. A lot of people talk about it. It's just invisible. Nobody sees it. But the day will come when we will have such kinds of thoughts, and these thoughts will definitely knock on our door, and then we will make them visible, not in front of our eyes, but in front of our consciousness. Anyways, I hope this was not some sort of a mysterious way of explaining certain philosophical ideas, but this is just, you know, my take on that. And thank you all. And if you guys have questions on that, I'm very glad to answer that. Bye.